I'm here on the edge of Tbilisi in the Republic of Georgia. Behind me, the Chronicles of Georgia. Join me today as we take a look at this, and we take a look at this sky bridge between these Soviet apartment buildings here in Tbilisi. So let's go. I'm staying in old Tbilisi, and my building is super old. It's like 150 years old is what I was told. On the first floor, there used to be horses and cows, animals. I imagine there's probably lots of dogs and cats. And then on the second floor, there was a garment factory, or kind of a garment shop. And then on the third floor, that's where the owners of the factory used to live. And so there was residents on the third floor. And then of course, during communist times, communists came, took that all away from the owners, and there was 40 families that lived in there. And on each floor there was just a communal bathroom, so no one had a private bathroom. And now today there's 15 or so, maybe 12 to 15 families that live in there. Also, the facade is really old on the outside because in old Tbilisi, the government actually updates the outside of those buildings, but they only do it every so often. And the reason for that is to preserve the authenticity and the history of those buildings. The first stop on our journey is the Chronicles of Georgia. I saw a review online when I was looking at the map. They said, it's good, it's well worth it, but don't take public transportation to get here. Well, we're gonna take public transportation. We're gonna take the bus. I don't think it'll be that hard. It's just gonna take a little bit longer. Might take an hour to get there. On the bus, you can just use your normal credit card because there's a card reader. I think if you get the card though, it's probably like the actual Metro card, it's probably a little bit cheaper. Also, when you're riding the bus and you get off the bus and you come back on within the next hour or two, I don't think it charges you. It's kind of like you're continuing your ride. Well, so far so good. I've made the transfer and the directions are super simple to follow. Just using, obviously, Google Maps navigation on your phone. Tells me what bus to take. Well, I just got off at the stop here, and now it's about a 14-minute walk to the Chronicles of Georgia, which is clearly right in front of me on this hill, and it looks massive, so I'm pretty excited to see it. The total time on the bus was about 45 minutes, and the cost of the bus ticket was 57 cents. So you can't beat it, and I definitely would say that public transportation is a good option if you want to come to the Chronicles of Georgia. Also, Tbilisi is great. I can't think of another city that I've been to that feels like this. You get on the bus and then 5, 10, 15 minutes later, you're just riding through the mountains. Everything feels a lot less metropolitan and you're just in this nature. If anyone's out there that has another city that they think feels similar to Tbilisi, let me know in the comments. I'd love to visit it. Well, I took a little detour on my way up here. They've got some nice trails here. Everything's interconnected as far as that goes, and the Chronicle in the distance. Supposedly, instead of building this, it was going to be a 100-meter tall statue of Stalin, so thank God that's not here. As the name would suggest, the Chronicles of Georgia depicts the history of the country, and it also looks like it depicts a lot of religious history. Well, my first impression is that this thing is completely massive. I did not expect it to be so tall. I of course saw the pictures, but I didn't really see any real scale. Here's these sculptures, and I'm just able to touch that one on the bottom. Definitely glad I came here. And yeah, it's just insane how big this is. It's very cool. This is like straight out of Raiders of the Lost Ark or something. I see what looks like a knight with maybe looks like a staff or a sword. From what I could tell online, there wasn't a lot of documentation giving the description of these scenes and who's who. So some of it is maybe a little unclear, or at least maybe it's just unclear to most tourists. Honestly, I've never seen anything like this before. Only in the movies. I mentioned Raiders of the Lost Ark. I guess it also kind of reminds me of Never-Ending Story. I feel like there were these big statues in that movie. That's my only point of reference. It's 22 minutes after noon on a Wednesday, and seems like it's a pretty good time to come here. It's not overly packed. We're technically a little bit past the vacation season. It's late September. feels very familiar with all of the Christian iconography. The Chronicles of Georgia was designed in 1981. Construction began in 1985, and then work was completed in 2003. And this entire structure was built to commemorate the 3,000th year of Georgian statehood, along with the 2,000th year of Christianity in the country. Apparently, this monument is still unfinished. You can see here on some of these panels on the base of the column where they're putting some of the finishing touches on there and attaching them. There's some exposed concrete here. There's some exposed metal. But honestly, I didn't even notice it when I first got here because the scale of this thing is so incredible. And you're just kind of in awe and blown away. Here is the crucifixion. This looks like the Last Supper. I think I see 12 apostles. I think on the base of the column, you'll find more of the religious stories. And then in the middle, it looks more like knights and Georgian figures. There's certainly Georgian writing in there. And then on the top, I feel like that might be imagery that is more related to Georgian traditions. Maybe like winemaking or farming or harvesting or fishing. Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything like this. There's nothing I can think of that compares to this. The Chronicles are on top of this hill which overlooks the Sea of Tbilisi. I think it might also be called the Tbilisi Reservoir. And down here I can see some boats. I can see there's a little beach. And this is just on the north side of Tbilisi. Like I was saying earlier, the city, it's pretty amazing. It's nestled in between the Caucasus here. And it's really easy to just get into nature pretty quickly, even just by taking public transportation. They built these ledges around the side here, I'm guessing, so that you can walk on them and get raised up so you can see some of this stuff a little bit closer to eye level. There's a little church here behind the Chronicle, and you can see that that is brand new. You can see how vibrant and beautiful the colors are inside. Descending the steps, leaving the Chronicle behind. Didn't spend too long there. It's only been about 90 minutes. Now let's head back to the bus stop and we'll head over to the Tbilisi Skybridge. While we did it, it only took a bus, 2 trains, and then a little marshrutka, which is a little blue van. But we made it, and after now we've arrived here on the Sky Bridge, which you can see it's this bridge that connects the street over here to this building, and then it continues through the building, and there's another building that's connected to as well. This part of town is interesting because you can see the view, and you have a mix of basically Soviet-style block flats, very communist, and then you also can see Tbilisi has a lot of new construction going on as well. Modern apartment buildings. You see the hills and the trees, the mountains, just the beauty of Tbilisi. And then as you go inside this first building, I don't know, this looks like it's maybe someone's apartment. Over here, it's just kind of a, looks like an empty apartment, but maybe people live back there. These buildings, they seem rock solid. I mean, of course, they're made out of what looks like solid concrete. They seem like the kind of buildings that are not going to be swaying in the breeze when the wind blows on them. And the bridge seems pretty rock solid too. Iron and concrete all welded together. There's actually 3 buildings that are connected here. I'm now crossing over to the last building. So there's 3 bridges connecting 3 buildings and then this street. And then in this last building, there's an elevator. You have to pay 20 tetri, which is their version of cents. Which coincidentally, of course, that kind of reminds me of the game Tetris, which got me thinking. I thought Tetris maybe had on the game menu, I thought it had maybe like a Russian theme to it, and I looked it up, and sure enough, it has what looks like St. Basil's Cathedral on it, which is in Red Square. And Tetris was created in the USSR. And again, I don't know if the two things are related at all. Tetris. And then this building here, the last building that the bridge is connected to, you can see it has all these holes on the exterior, which is pretty strange looking. And I guess that's because the staircase is just right here, and so this is all just open to the elements. I'll call the elevator here. I've got 1 lari. I took the elevator down to the ground floor. Now I'll walk my way back up. You can see how utilitarian the inside of the building is. Matches the exterior. We'll walk our way from the ground floor back up to the top. I guess this is kind of how you would do it if you weren't going to take the elevator up in that building and then take the Skybridge. I feel like I've never seen a sturdier rail. I think these stairs are going to be here for a long time along with this rail. And then as you get to the top of this section of stairs, ask yourself, have you ever seen anything more inviting or warm or welcoming than this as the front entry to go up inside of an apartment building? It's very institutional feeling. And I think there's maximum security prisons that aren't quite as solid looking. So here somebody has the Georgian flag, the EU flag, and the Ukrainian flag. And Georgia, the people here, want to join the EU. They want to join that because it'll give them more protection from Russia. But maybe it would be kind of a provocative thing too, in the eyes of Russia. This bridge is maybe the most solid thing I've ever walked on in my life. It's asphalt on top of steel. You can see the beams underneath, massive. The support underneath, I don't know if it's excessive. I don't know if you could take everyone who lives here, put them on the bridge with all their furniture, drive a tank across it. What do you think of the Sky Bridge here in Tbilisi? I think I'm gonna catch the bus back to old Tbilisi. Looks like the bus stop is maybe about an 8-minute walk. So I could have taken the ride-sharing car. They use the Bolt taxi app here, and it would have taken about 35 minutes. Maybe it would have been about $10 to $20. Generally, the taxi here is really affordable. It's probably less than half the price of what you'd pay in the United States. Probably my number one piece of travel advice at this point is do not take the scam taxi at the airport. So those would be the guys that approach you and say, taxi, taxi. When I got to Tbilisi, the cab drivers approached me and they wanted me to pay 50 lari or maybe 40 lari. And I even showed them the ride sharing app and it was showing 17 and a half. It gets better. They were lying to me and saying, oh, that's just the start price. Of course it wasn't. It was the full price. Just like on your Uber app or your Lyft app, it shows the full price before you book the ride. Well, we did it. We've arrived back in my neighborhood here in Old Tbilisi after spending more than an hour on a metro train and then catching the bus. I'd love to hear what you thought of today's video. What did you think of the Chronicles of Georgia? And what did you think of the Tbilisi Skybridge? Let me know in the comments below, or as always, if you just want to say hello, I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, thank you so much for watching, or as they say here, madlaba. See you next time.